Welcome to Cruise News, your daily update on everything happening at sea. Visit cruisenews.io to see today's stories and sign up for email alerts.
Good to be here. We have a heavy docket today. It really feels like one of those weeks where the industry is showing us its entire life cycle.
Your entire life cycle, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, from the strategic shutdown of a beloved small brand to, well, the cold financial calculus of fleet deployment. And sadly, the human reality of mortality at sea.
It really is the full spectrum. So we are looking at three major stories leading the news, plus a roundup of some pretty significant port developments. We're going to start with a major shakeup in the Alaska market.
Oh, yeah.
Alaskan Dream Cruises has officially ceased operations.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a pause, It's a full stop for a well-known operator.
It is. And when we really dig into the why, it serves as a kind of masterclass in the current economics of small ship cruising versus, the mega carriers.
Then we're moving to the Norwegian Bliss. NCL has confirmed the end date for Jersey Boys. But the story here isn't just about a musical closing.
No, not at all.
It's about a fundamental shift in how NCL views its onboard real estate and entertainment ROI.
That's a massive topic. I mean, the days of the loss leader Broadway show might be numbered, at least for Norwegian.
And we also have a very somber report from the Celebrity Summit regarding the passing of jazz clarinetist Ken Peplowski during a charter sailing. We'll discuss what happened and the unique nature of these music charters.
A tragic loss for that whole community. Just awful.
So let's get into the details. I want to start with Alaskan Dream Cruises. For our listeners who track the expedition market, this is significant.
Huge.
On February 4th, the company officially ceased operations, canceled all future sailings.
And this came down from the owner, Jamie Cagle, and the phrasing was interesting. He called it a strategic decision following a review of long-term objectives.
Strategic decision. That's often corporate shorthand for we can't make the math work anymore.
I think that's exactly what it is.
And looking at their fleet, the math must have been incredibly difficult. They were operating 4 vessels, the Chichagof Dream, Admiralty Dream,
The Baranof Dream, and the Alaskan Dream.
And we need to put those ships in context, right? These aren't just small in the way a 600-passenger luxury ship is small.
Oh, no. These are intimate expedition-style vessels. The entire fleet, all 4 ships combined, only had 223 berths.
223. That is a staggering number. I mean, you have single lifeboats on the Icon of the Seas that hold more people than their entire fleet.
And yet, those 4 tiny ships still require captains, engineers, chefs, deckhands.
That's the core of the economic pressure, isn't it?
It's the fixed cost problem. Exactly. Whether you have 40 passengers or 4,000, you need a bridge team. You need insurance. You need to buy fuel. When you are splitting those costs among just 50 guests, your per passenger operating cost is, well, it's astronomical.
And these were U.S. flagged vessels, which adds another layer of complexity.
A huge layer. Being U.S. flagged is a double-edged sword. It let them bypass the Passenger Vessel Services Act.
Meaning no stop in Canada. They could go straight from Sitka to Juneau.
Right. But the trade-off is they have to hire U.S. citizens and follow U.S. labor laws, which means
much higher wage costs.
Significantly higher than the international lines hiring globally. And you have to remember, they are competing in a market that has become incredibly crowded.
You have the giants like Princess and Holland America just dominating through sheer volume. They have all the priority permits for Glacier Bay.
And then they were also getting squeezed from the top end, too. It's not just the big ships anymore.
No, the luxury expedition market has just exploded.
You have the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection. You have Virgin making inroads, MSC. Everyone wants a piece of that high-yield Alaska market.
So Alaskan Dream was just stuck in the middle.
Completely. They had this unique local product. I mean, they could navigate shallow fjords the big ships can't even look at, but they just didn't have the marketing muscle of a Ritz-Carlton or the pricing efficiency of a Carnival.
That squeeze was so visible in their pricing strategy. I saw reports that for the 2025 season, they were offering a 70% discount to Alaska residents.
70%. When you see a 70% discount, that is a distress signal. That's a line that is desperate to put heads in bags just to cover fuel and crew.
It just suggests the demand wasn't there at the price they needed.
Not even close.
Now, despite this, it doesn't feel like a chaotic bankruptcy. The parent company, Allen Marine Tours, is still in business, right?
Correct. And that's a crucial distinction to make. Allen Marine is a staple in Southeast Alaska. They run the day tours, the shore excursions, the catamarans.
The whale-watching trips that everyone takes.
Exactly. That business model is still very viable. High volume, short duration, no overnight hotel costs. So they are simply exiting the overnight cruise part of the business.
And they seem to be handling the exit responsibly. They're refunding guests and even setting up a transfer program to uncruise adventures.
Which is a very classy move. Instead of leaving guests stranded, they are handing them off to a direct competitor, which, it preserves the reputation of the parent company.
What about the ships? The Chichagof, the Admiralty.
They're currently laid up in Sitka. No word yet on if they'll be sold or repurposed. It's a tough market for older tonnage right now.
Okay, let's pivot. From the small ships of Sitka to the massive floating resorts of the West Coast, we need to talk about Norwegian Cruise Line and the Norwegian Bliss.
This is a story that has been developing for a while, since mid-2023, but now we have the concrete detail.
The headline is this. The Broadway musical Jersey Boys, which has been the anchor entertainment on the Bliss, will officially end its run in February 2026.
And this just aligns perfectly with that fleet-wide pivot we discussed last year. NCL is aggressively moving away from these expensive, licensed Broadway productions.
And they aren't replacing it with another big license. No Six, no Kinky Boots. The advisory explicitly says the theater will transition to rotating live specialty acts.
Specialty acts, which, in the industry, that usually means comedians, magicians, jugglers.
Maybe a cover band?
Right. It's a very different value proposition than a full-scale Broadway musical with a huge cast.
I've seen the passenger reaction online, and there's a lot of skepticism. There was a strong rumor that Choir of Man, which is super popular on other NCL ships, would take the slot.
And Choir of Man fits the new model perfectly. It's high energy, smaller cast, lower production cost, but NCL has not confirmed that. For now, it's just this rotating variety description.
I want to dig into the economics here because you mentioned ROI. Obviously, licensing Jersey Boys costs millions, but is the savings just about the license fee?
It's twofold. First, yes, the license fees and the royalties are massive. It is significantly cheaper to produce your own shows in-house in Tampa. But the second factor, and people often overlook this, is the berth economy.
The crew cabins.
Exactly. A show like Jersey Boys needs a large cast, musicians, stage managers. They all occupy cabins. Cabins that could be used for revenue-generating staff or, paying passengers.
So if you get rid of the 30-person Broadway cast and hire a solo magician and a comedy duo,
you've just freed up maybe 25 beds. On a ship like the Bliss, that's a huge efficiency play. NCL has decided that the wow factor of a Broadway show isn't driving enough bookings to justify the drag on the ship's operational efficiency.
That's a gamble. I mean, for a long time, the entertainment wars were all about who had the biggest name on the marquee.
It is a gamble. NCL seems to be betting that passengers just want something entertaining, and they don't really care if it won a Tony Award.
And if you look at guest satisfaction surveys,
sometimes the highest-rated shows are the improv comedians or the dueling pianos. NCL is betting they can keep that satisfaction score without the Broadway price tag.
The timing is also really specific here. The Bliss is in LA right now, doing the Mexican Riviera. But in April 2026, right after this change happens, it repositions to Seattle for the Alaska season.
So the Alaska summer crowds will be the first test subjects for this new format, which is interesting. It's a captive audience in Alaska, often tired from long port days.
That's a fair point. They might actually prefer a quick 45-minute variety act over a 90-minute musical.
Shorter attention spans might align better with magicians than musicals.
Okay, we have to shift gears completely for our third story. We're moving to the Celebrity Summit, and unfortunately, this is a tragic update.
It is a very sad story. We are reporting on the death of Ken Peplowski, a true legend in the jazz world.
This occurred on February 2nd. Peplowski was aboard the Summit for the Jazz Cruise. This wasn't a regular sailing, it was a full ship charter.
Right. And for those who haven't been on a charter, it's a completely different ecosystem. It's like a floating festival. The entire ship is booked by one organization, and every single passenger is there for the music.
Peplowski was 66. He is a clarinetist and saxophonist and, considered by critics like Russell Davies to be one of the greatest living jazz clarinetists.
Just a giant in the field. He had been battling multiple myeloma since 2021, but he was still performing. In fact, he was scheduled to play a set at 4:00 p.m. that day with pianist Shelley Berg.
And that's how they realized something was wrong. Correct. He didn't show up for the set.
Yeah. The organizers, specifically Michael Lazaroff, said that Peplowski was a professional's professional. He respected the bandstand. He never, ever missed a set. When he wasn't there, they went to his cabin and, they found him.
The impact on a charter like this must just be profound. On a regular cruise of 3,000 strangers, a death might go unnoticed by most. But on a jazz charter,
Everybody knows everybody. The artists mingle with the guests, they eat dinner together, it's a community. When the announcement was made before the evening concert, reports say the room just fell completely silent. It wasn't losing an act, it was losing a friend.
and operationally, the ship continued its journey.
It did. The summit was on its final leg back to Fort Lauderdale. It arrived on schedule. There was no deviation or delay, but the tone of that final night was obviously heavily impacted.
Just a stark reminder of the realities of life, even on vacation.
It is. The organizers have said they're planning extensive remembrances for him on future cruises. A fitting tribute.
While it's difficult to pivot from such a human story to, operational logistics, the industry machinery does keep moving. We have several significant updates in our news briefs this week.
That's right. The business of moving ships and building ports, it doesn't stop.
Let's start with the weather. We talk about hurricane season all the time, but winter cruising on the East Coast is proving to be a real headache.
Oh, yeah. The Carnival Sunshine got stuck in Norfolk because of a winter storm.
The port actually closed.
And this is the risk of that year-round strategy in non-tropical home ports. As lines push to keep ships sailing from Baltimore, Norfolk, New York in January, they're running into these nor'easters.
And it creates a mess for the passengers.
It does. And it's forcing the lines to rewrite their refund playbooks. Passengers get frustrated sitting in a snowy terminal for 8 hours. The lines are realizing if they want that winter revenue, they need better contingency plans.
Speaking of port tensions, let's go back to Alaska for a moment.
Yeah.
Haines, American Cruise Lines just pulled a $4 million offer to rebuild a dock there.
This is a really complex story. It just highlights that friction between the cruise industry's desire for growth and the local community's desire for control.
The money was on the table. Why would they pull it?
Because of the strings attached. American Cruise Lines wanted a preferential use agreement. Basically, guaranteed access for 20 years.
And the locals pushed back.
The local borough assembly, and especially the fishing community, pushed back hard. They did not want to sign away control of their waterfront for 2 decades just to get a dock repaired. It's that classic fisherman versus tourism battle.
So by pulling the offer, ACL is sending a message.
Exactly. We will invest, but only if we get guaranteed priority. And since they couldn't get it, they took their checkbook and went home.
Okay, finally, I'm going to group 2 stories together because I think they paint a clear picture of the future. Holland America has open bookings for 2027 and 2028,
Way in advance.
focusing heavily on Pacific cruises. And Carnival announced they are homeporting 2 ships in Baltimore starting in 2027.
This is the drive-to strategy in action. This is the industry betting against the airlines.
Explain that. Why does a second ship in Baltimore matter so much?
It's all about the catchment area. Millions and millions of people live within a 4-hour drive of Baltimore. If flight prices stay high and air travel continues to be a hassle, people will choose the vacation they can drive to.
So Carnival is planting a flag and saying, we will come to you.
Precisely. And Holland America is doing the same on the West Coast, opening up San Diego and Vancouver for longer round-trip voyages. They're targeting that demographic that wants to avoid the airport at all costs.
So fewer flights to Miami, more road trips to Baltimore and San Diego.
That seems to be the winning bet right now.
It really has been a week of transitions. We're seeing the end of the small ship era in Sitka with Alaskan Dream, the end of the Broadway era on NCL, and the industry just doubling down on regional accessibility.
The industry is always evolving to find that efficiency, whether it's in the engine room, the theater, or the home port.
And that's where we'll leave it for today. Thanks for listening to Cruise News. Visit cruisenews.io to catch up on the latest updates and sign up for free email alerts.